Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel, man. It's been about a week, man. I apologize. I have been tromping around Los Angeles checking out rock and roll for the last few days. It has been hectic. You know how it is, man, when you're flying in places, flying out, running around cities like Los Angeles, which is gets pretty crazy, but a lot of fun. And I had a hell of a lot of fun checking out Michael Monroe 2 nights in a row, man, at the Whisky a GoGo on Saturday night and at the Rainbow Bar and Grill 53rd anniversary celebration outside show on the 13th, which was a Sunday night. Of course, when Michael was on stage, he said, "It's Saturday night." I've done that myself as a performer. It was funny because everyone looked at each other like it is. But when you're on tour, you forget what night it is. But it felt like a Saturday seeing him at the Rainbow. But I digress. Tonight's story is about meeting Michael Monroe and the great Jim Dandy from Black Oak, Arkansas, all in the same span of about an hour, man. It was completely whack. My lovely wife, Sister Tracy, from the Church of Rock and Latitude 42 radio shows, we flew down to Los Angeles, right? From Southern Oregon here in Southern Oregon. Went down to the Burbank airport, got picked up by our daughter, Audrey, and she's the one that hooked up the tickets for us for the Whisky. Thank you, Audrey. And tickets for the Rainbow, too, by the way. And man, we had a good time staying at the apartment of the great studio wizard and musician known as Paul Roessler. That's right, from 45 Grave and the Screamers, legendary keyboard player and producer. He's got a Kitten Robot Studios down in Los Angeles where a lot of legends record, like Richie Ramone and Josie Cotton and just tons of people. And Paul's got this cool apartment that on the walls there's like letters from Darby Crash that are handwritten because Paul went to high school with Darby Crash. And there's just such awesome mementos in that apartment. It's just a really cool place to stay and extremely rock and roll, I should say. So shout out to the great Paul Roessler for the hospitality. It was great to see Paul. But man, the day after we got there, the next day was the Whisky show. We decided to head down to the Whisky a GoGo, legendary club where the Doors and so many bands before them have, played controversial rock and roll shows. The place has been around forever. We thought, let's go down and see if we can catch Michael performing, perhaps. That'd be kind of cool, for sound check. Or maybe we could say hi to the guy or bring my records to get autographed, which I'll get to in a minute. So we get down to the Whisky a GoGo. There's maybe 3 people hanging out waiting to meet Michael. We're like, oh, that's kind of cool. There's not a lot of competition, which I thought there'd be more. We're there maybe 10, 15 minutes when all of a sudden we're all kind of looking around and we see a black sedan. We're walking around the Whisky and we see a black sedan turn around the corner and pull right behind the Whisky into this parking space. Well, there's only enough room for like 4 or 5 cars to park back there. It's a very small space right there in downtown West Hollywood, I believe. And sure enough, we could see that it was Michael because when they went by us, you could see Michael's hair and his rings and some of his jewelry and stuff reflecting in the window. And it was like, yep, there he is. So Michael gets up out of the car. The entire band gets out of the car, including the great Steve Conte, of course, who was with the reformed New York Dolls. He was with, for a while, he was music director, I believe, for Prince and the Revolution. Steve Conte's played with so many bands like Peter Wolf from Jay Giles, Suzi Quatro. He's done so much. East Coast guy, New York City, I believe, or New Jersey. And then, of course, Rich Jones was there on guitar, an English gentleman. Himself and Steve Conte have both been with Michael Monroe since 2010. And, of course, Rich Jones formerly has done stuff with, like, Killing Joke, Dogs D'Amore, and a bunch of other great bands. Legendary guitar players Steve Conte and Rich Jones. Todd Kearns was on bass, a Canadian gentleman. You guys might know him as Slash's bass player. Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. Yep, he plays bass for that band. Also, he's with the Blackbird Angels with Tracy Guns. At least he was. And then on drums, Swedish drummer Carl Rockfist. These guys were badass. I'm telling you, Michael's band, top notch. Carl Rockfist played with Danzig, horror punk band Son of Sam. Of course, Steve Zing is in that band from Sam Hain. Todd Youth from Murphy's Law is in that band. He played with Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses before, Cheap Trick. Yeah, legendary band. Michael Monroe's got a top-notch rock and roll band. One of the best in the business for sure. And after seeing him for 2 nights in a row, I can tell you, he's got one of the best in the business for sure. So we're standing there. Michael's getting his hair done. He's like, gets out of the car. He starts letting everyone know he's only had like an hour and a half sleep. He's tired. The band starts stretching. Steve Conti gets out, starts doing leg stretches. I'm like, hey man, welcome to Hollywood. And Steve's cool. And I'm like, hey Michael. He looks around. I go, the best kept secret in rock and roll. And he just laughs and says, hey man, and he asked everybody just to wait a second because he knows we're there to see him, But no one's like rushing him or being a dick or anything. We're all being cool. And Steve Conti, I said, hey man, can I get a picture with you? And he said, yeah, man. So I got a couple really cool photos with Steve Conti. I'm going to post one of those on the post section. If you check out the post section of my video channel here, I put a photo up about every 24 hours. Yeah, it's a cool little section to check out, posts. And I've also put my photo up with Slash and Michael Monroe, which I'll get to. So you can check out the post section if you want. Michael was super friendly. He was definitely distracted because he wanted to get into sound check. He had just driven a long way. He was tired from the night before. He was worn out. And, here's a bunch of fans wanting autographs and pictures being taken and all that, right? Well, right about the same time that we're talking to Michael, we ask him for photos. He's cool about it. He takes a photo with me and he's like super cool, right? Real laid back, but just distracted. Right then, a big group of guys walk up, man. A bunch of real rock and roll, grizzly looking dudes. One dude had a mohawk, totally punk rock. A couple dudes looked like they could be in Danzig's band or something. And then you got this guy with long hair and a beard. And my daughter Audrey says, hey Dad, do you know who those guys are? Do they look familiar? And I said, nope, they don't look familiar to me. And she gets on her phone and goes, dude, that's Jim Dandy. I'm like, what? It was Black Oak, Arkansas, the entire band. So I started thinking, maybe he's going to be performing with Michael at the show. Why would he be at soundcheck? So we walk up to Jim Dandy. We're like, what's up, Jim? Hey, you're a legend, man. We love you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Jim, can I get a photo with you? And of course he says, yes. We get a picture with him. And then my wife, Tracy, says, hey, Jim, can I get a picture with you? And he goes, me? He was extremely humble, man, but make no mistake, Jim Dandy, one of the best, most legendary frontmen and lead singers in rock and roll history. The guy's 77 years old, and he's been doing it for 60 years. So, people want to criticize him, how he looks and stuff, but give the guy a break, dude. He's almost 80, and he's still rocking, and he ended up rocking with Michael. I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler right now, because I'm going to do a separate video about the show at the Whisky and the show at the Rainbow, because there's stuff that Michael said and did on stage at both of those shows that were really funny, hilarious, unexpected, and just all around kick ass. If I have to rate Michael Monroe, his stage performance, his vocals, and his band on a scale of 1 to 10, 11. Yep, absolutely, man. Definitely the best kept secret in rock and roll. Michael Monroe has not lost anything. He's just gotten better with age, like a fine wine. He keeps rocking and rolling, and it was awesome to see the man in person. He's just a cool dude, and he's just has an aura about him that exudes pure rock and roll. So we all ask him to sign our stuff, and he starts signing our stuff for us, and he signed this for me. Yeah, right. And then I had a stack of CDs that I brought all the covers for, which I'll tell you about later here. And he says, hey, you guys, I got to get into sound check, but I tell you what, I'm not one of those people that just says that. I mean what I say. I don't fuck around. And we're like, okay, Michael, no problem, bro. Thanks, man. And, it was cool. And we hung out there for a while, man. And next thing you know, some girl pulls up. Well, I'll jump to that in a minute. So we all look at all the guys from Black Oak, and Michael all of a sudden realizes, oh my God, that's Jim Dandy, because Michael Monroe is a huge rock and roll fan like you and I, right? And he's like, oh my God, Jim Dandy, I used to watch you on TV as a kid, man, rock and roll, Jim Dandy to the rescue. And Michael's just super excited to see Jim Dandy there. And I'm like, this is awesome. And he walked over to meet him, and I said, hey, Michael, you want me to get a picture of you with Jim? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, wait, let me get my camera. And it was funny. And so he grabs his camera, has his guy, get ready to take a photo. And then he walks over, and everyone starts snapping. There's like 8 of us. Everyone starts snapping pictures of Michael shaking hands with Jim Dandy and giving each other this iconic rock and roll hug. It was super cool, man, because Michael was genuinely happy to be there. A fan of Jim Dandy, like you and I would be a fan of Michael, is how he was acting. It was so cool. Like really, really genuine stuff there. We are all gagging. It's like, here we are with Jim Dandy and Michael Monroe. Well, they all went inside to do sound check, and you could hear the drums start, they're testing the drums out, kick 1, 2, give me a snare. And then they're testing out the guitar a little bit and some vocal stuff and the harmonica and the saxophone. And then not only were we buzzing and excited, because Michael's going to come back out and talk to us and hang out and, get some pictures and sign the rest of my CDs. But all of a sudden, a black Jeep pulls up. A big black Jeep with all-terrain rugged tires pulls up, literally like right here, right next to me, right where I'm kind of standing. But he pulls up here, and my daughter goes, "Hey, Dad, that's Slash." I go, "Driving?" She goes, "Yeah, he's literally going to open the door and hit you," kind of thing. And I'm like, no way, man. I had a feeling Slash was going to be there because he plays lead guitar on Michael Monroe's latest album, I Live Too Fast to Die Young. He plays lead guitar on that title track, right? And I thought maybe Slash is going to show up. So my daughter just brought some records with her to get signed, not only by Michael, but she brought some Guns N' Roses records just in case Slash showed up. And I told her, I have a feeling he's gonna, and he did. So he gets out of his Jeep. We're like, "Hey, Slash." He's like, "Hey, what's up?" He opens up the back door of his Jeep, grabs his guitar. Everyone's like, "Hey, man, can we get a photo with you, Slash? Can we sign our stuff?" And he's like, "Man, look, I'm already late for my sound check here. I'm like late already." And we're like, "Okay, no problem. And we'll be here when you come out." And he's like, "All right, cool." And so he goes in, the door shuts, the band starts going into rehearsal. We're in completely stoked, right? We're just stoked. But before I get to the part about this happening, I missed a part. I missed a part of my story. Back up a minute, okay? And then I'll go right into the sound check and keep going, okay? Forgive me. So we're sitting there waiting on Michael, and before he got there's a girl hanging out, right, with her kid. And her kid's like 7 years old, and this girl was really wanting to meet Michael. Well, I wasn't listening to her talk to the other guy that was waiting for Michael that was sitting there by the steps behind the Whisky. I was kind of pacing around, just waiting for Michael to come out, right? But they were talking, and I heard her say that she was married to somebody famous, but I didn't quite hear who it was, and I really wasn't interested because I was just kind of thinking about hanging out and seeing Michael for a few when he got out and talking to him about my song that's on this new Dark Days Unfazed album called Michael Monroe. Well, turns out it was the ex-wife of Bam Mageras. Yep, from Jackass and, Bam. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, Mageras. It was Bam and Missy. Remember the show, the Bam show, whatever it was called? God, I sound stupid. But anyway, that was Bam's ex-wife, Missy, and Bam's son, River, that were there. And she wanted her son to get a picture with Michael. But the entire time that she was there for like maybe 20 minutes, half an hour tops, waiting for Michael to arrive, he was throwing a fit. He was completely freaking out. "I want to leave. Take me out of here." And she's like, "No, you got to stay. You're going to love this guy," and all this. And I'm like, oh my God. And it went on and on and on. And even my daughter was like, "I got to get out of here, man." So she goes down and walks down to the corner. "Just let me know if these guys come out or anything." I'm like, "No problem." And, he's just a kid, but he was really, really like throwing tantrums. And she was like holding him for a while and stuff. And I'm like, he's tall. He's like, not as tall as me, but he's a tall kid. But I didn't realize till later that it was Bam's ex, Missy, that was on the TV show with Bam when he used to torture his parents and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, back to the sound check. So Missy, by the way, did not stick around because the kid wouldn't stop throwing a fit. She said she had parked somewhere and she had to leave. She had already double parked and had tickets she hadn't paid or something. Anyway, we go to the backstage door, and it's a big bright red door. It says Whisky, a GoGo on it. And the band starts kicking into Dead, Jail, Rock and Roll. And Slash is on guitar, man. You could hear it. And as soon as they dialed into the guitar, my daughter's like, "Listen to Slash, man." And they played it maybe 3 times in a row. And you could hear it crystal clear. And the guys were just killing it, man. Michael's up there on his harmonica. Slash was doing killer lead guitar work. Now, listening to the sound check, I got to say, Slash was just about as good, if not better, than he was at the live shows. It was really good. And we were tripping that we were getting to hear sound check. And it went on for a long time. Then they went into Magic Carpet Ride, the song that Michael Monroe has done in the past on a record with Slash on guitar. It was a really cool cover. They went into that and did that 2 or 3 times as well. And then after they did that, they took a break, and we thought it was over. And the Whisky door opened, and Slash came walking out. And by then there was maybe 6 or 7 of us tops. And luckily nobody called and tipped off a bunch of people or posted on social media that he was there at that time, because it would have been 10 seconds before people would have been there, and we would never have had the opportunity that I had, because Slash, from what I hear, because I'm frids with a lot of people in the autograph business world, and they say Slash these days hardly ever takes photos with people. And so we thought, it won't happen. But I heard he was cool about signing records. So my daughter was hoping, hey, hopefully Slash will sign my records. Not only did he sign for everyone that was there that wanted something signed, but he took a photo with everybody. We even said, can we get a family photo, Slash? Me, my daughter, and my wife here. We all flew here from Oregon to see you, and we knew you were going to be here because, well, we knew you were going to come play with Michael. And he didn't ask how we knew. He just knew. These people are real rockers, so I'll do it. And he did it, man. He took pictures with everyone. No one was like freaking out on him. No one was like rushing him. Everyone was just being like, hey, man, what's up, Slash? And I think because our energy was normal and not all, hey, and freaking out and TMZ like, I think he was cool. So yeah, man, it was epic. And I posted a photo with Slash last night on this channel under the post section. Slash was wearing a leather vest with a t-shirt underneath. He's got black cut. He had a black baseball cap turned around backwards, his long black hair. He was just looking like a cool dude, man. He had his shades on, and he was very cool. And my daughter was smart enough to give me one of the Guns N' Roses records she brought, because Slash usually does only one thing per person. So I got one signed as a favor for her. She's the one that got us tickets to see Michael at both the Whisky and the Rainbow. Shout out to Audrey. You rock, and I love you. Anyway, now I'm going to give separate videos about the show. So after about another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I'm not kidding, it was one of the longest sound checks in history. Michael must be a perfectionist. I gotta say though, his band's pretty damn tight, and his act is pretty damn, it's well orchestrated, but a lot of improv going on with Michael, a lot of complete impulsive behavior on stage, a very erratic and funny and eccentric, but super dialed into rock and roll. His voice was just on target. Epic saxophone playing and harmonica playing. You could hear it right there behind the doors of the Whisky. But finally, man, after waiting around, after dealing with Bam's ex-wife, who was nice, I liked her, she was cool, but the kid, and bless his heart, was just like literally, I want to leave. Just like, I mean, way worse than that. And it went on for a long time. And we were just like, please, by God, let him leave. But she was talking about how Bam and them went on tour, maybe in Finland with Andy McCoy and his band, but she never got to meet Michael. And so Missy wanted to meet Michael real bad, and don't blame her. And she did try to wait for a while. But anyway, eventually, the door opened, guys, and Michael Monroe pops out. And he comes right out, and he sees us, and he goes like this. He goes, okay, you guys, 1 minute. Hang on a second. I didn't forget you, man. And I'm like, what a dude, man. Michael Monroe coming through for his fans. Didn't forget us. Turns around. There's maybe 8 people now, right? And Michael's like super just glowing because he's like ultra rock and roller, the real deal, right? And by the way, did I already tell you can get my new album, Dark Days Unfazed, with a song called Michael Monroe? Yeah, you can get that song on here, CD and cassette. Hit me up. My email's in the description area, please, if you're interested. So, some guy is in front of me. He's been there first. I thought, let's let this guy talk to Michael first. I'm just not going to rush him or anything. And Michael says, hey, man, come here. And there's these 2 cars, the car that Michael came in and the car he was getting ready to leave in, right? And he was in a hurry, by the way, but he was taking the time for us fans, and it was awesome of him. And there was another car parked right next to it to where Michael could open the door of the passenger side of the car he was sitting in, and he could touch the other car, right? Not much room. So one guy's ahead of me. He's got like 7 items he wants signed, and Michael's was cool enough to sign all these posters and records, talk to the guy, took a photo with him. Very cool stuff. And then it was my turn to go talk to Michael Monroe. And I had no idea what he was going to be like, or how much time he would give me. But I walked up with not only the record I showed you, courtesy of Ragged Records in Davenport, Iowa, but also all of these CD covers that I've collected from the CDs I collect by Michael and Hanoi Rocks. He was cool enough to sign each and every one of these bad boys for me, you guys. Yeah, with the silver Sharpie, as you can see. The very first Hanoi album. And so Michael signs, and while he's signing for me, my daughter Audrey decides to turn on her video camera. And I'll have to post this sometime soon on my other channel, The Church of Rock, all one word. By the way, you can find a lot of footage from these shows I'm talking about, including Michael Monroe, at The Church of Rock, all one word. Please subscribe there, is my other channel. So Michael is epically cool, completely down to earth. My daughter says, hey man, my dad here and my mom and me, we all came down from Oregon. My dad did that song about you, Michael Monroe. And Michael's like, oh yeah, I love that, man. That's great. I appreciate things like that. And that's kind of, he leaves it like that. And then she goes, the best kept secret in rock and roll goes by the name of Michael Monroe. And then he starts realizing what she's talking about. And then she says, a real rocker, because in my new song, Michael Monroe, which has got Dave Moe on all the music, by the way, and he co-wrote the song with me. Thank you, Dave. Michael immediately, it was like a light bulb went off. He goes, oh, yeah, man, a real rocker. I love that line. He goes, yeah, man, a couple people sent me that song. I love that, man. And he goes, I appreciate that. I like them lyrics. Thank you for that song. And I said, man, that's cool, man. Thank you. I go, and Audrey goes, do you remember who sent it to you? And he goes, a couple people. And I said, well, I know who sent it to you. I'm not going to say her name out of privacy reasons, but the person that we both mutually, well, he knows her better than me. She was kind enough to email the song to Michael when it came out originally from Dark Days Unfazed album, right? It's called Michael Monroe. And I wanted him to hear it. And she was very nice enough to send it to Michael. And I heard that Michael was pleased and said he appreciated the song and that it already had heard it. So when Michael realizes that I'm the guy that wrote that song and, or sings that song, he looks at me, he takes his shades off, he signs all my stuff, and he goes, man, I really appreciate that. It's a very flattering song, and I really like it a lot, man, and I like that a lot, bro. Thank you for that, so much for that song. And I said, wow, that means the world to me. And then he goes, it means the world to me. Pulls his shades off, looks me right in the eye, and he goes, it means the world to me. And then he comes over and gives me this epic rock and roll hug. And it's all on videotape. And it was just one of those moments in my rock and roll life that I'll never forget. I mean, it was really, really cool. The man, the myth, the legend, Michael Monroe, did not let me down. The shows, you guys, were killer. I'm going to do shows, new videos on them immediately. So look for those about the Whiskey and the Rainbow and about Slash and Jim Dandy and their performances, the set lists, and some of the stuff that Michael said and did on stage, which was epic. Again, 2 thumbs up, 3 thumbs up for Michael Monroe and his badass band. Please subscribe to my channel, guys. Give this video a like if you will, please. Leave a comment, and if you saw Michael on the current tour, tell us what you thought about it. Michael Monroe. Was I exaggerating, or is he still the best kept secret in rock and roll? Cheers to Michael Monroe, and thank you guys for checking out my video. See ya.